Hello and welcome back to CS 107. This is week 3. The focus of this week will be building your own Creative Soundboard App. Alrighty, so this week the focus is building your own Creative Soundboard App. It's based on the I Have a Dream app and the Four Corners app, so you'll be using the same concepts of sort of the layout of Thunkable, and you'll be using the same sort of programming concepts as you did with I Have a Dream, but you're going to do it in your own creative way. Alrighty, so here's what we're doing this week. Number one, we're going to introduce a new concept which will come up soon. That is called Conditionals. You guys will start planning your own Creative Soundboard app, finding the media, building your Creative Soundboard app. We're gonna set this up so that you can share and play with each other's apps. We're gonna use a tool called Piazza to do that. We'll go over the homework for week 3. And a reminder, as always, trying to collect data through surveys to find out what's working, what needs to be changed. It is a requirement of this class, so do not forget to do it each week. Alrighty. We're going to continue with some corny jokes here. Easy one this week. Why did Waldo go to therapy? That's right. He went to find himself. Haha. Yeah, we got it. Okay. So as I sort of messaged a couple times, this class, the intention is to take computer science. It's in a sense, this is an intro for non-majors, and the idea is that I'm trying to demystify a lot of things about computer science so that when you get through this class, you feel comfortable going on to CS 110 or just generally having a broader sense of what you can create and do with computer science, what it looks like to do code, what it looks like to make apps. So in that, philosophically, I've got this concept wherein if you're just doing things that you're already familiar with, you're kind of in this comfort zone area. There's not a lot of learning. My goal is to push you into a stretch zone where you're challenged to apply concepts, where you'll have to be a little vulnerable, you'll fail a little bit, but ideally you find that computer science, nothing is ever really perfect, and you know that because in the apps on your phone, and they're being updated every month or every couple months, there's no such thing as perfect in computer science. So that requires constantly pushing yourself a little bit, learning more, testing more things. Where I do not want to push you to is this the stress zone where people are not comfortable at all. They're not willing to continue to make a great effort. So that's why we do the survey, because I'm trying to get a sense of where people are at, what's appropriate. As always, our office hours, Thursdays 5 to 7 for me. Ayla and Natalia have their own office hours for each section. Those are Monday and Wednesdays from 4 to 5. I switched up the grading a little bit. I don't want you to feel stressed out by those quizzes. They'll be every couple weeks, but really it's just I want to make sure you reviewed the concept. It's not meant to be stressful at all. The in-class apps, I bumped up the value of those, and the homework is about 40%. But remember that got to do those weekly surveys. They are required. If you weren't here, we won't do the first week because people have been coming in and out of the class, but subsequently you do need those weekly surveys done. Reminder about late work. We decided to be lenient the first week just because people were getting used to the class, getting used to the format of the class. There were some things that I wasn't clear enough about, so we were a little more lenient on submissions for the first week. But going forward, just to reiterate, homework is a set due date. It's always Sunday nights by just before midnight. Generally, do not accept late homework, but if it's the first or second week, we were lenient this time around. Apps, all work is due Sunday night, so those are your weekly apps. The apps, there's a rubric, and I will make sure that that's reposted so you can see how the grading is done. You can resubmit apps for a higher grade. So if you don't like the grade you got, you feel like, oh, I didn't understand it before, I understand it now I know how to fix that, go ahead and fix it. We can give you a higher grade. We cannot do it by email. It's just too hard to work out. But you can go to the TA's office hours and they will make the adjustments. Going forward, late apps incur a 10% penalty. Really appreciate that people have been using Piazza a little bit because there's not really a lot of live meetings for this course, but if you need questions answered, for better or for worse, I'm online all day, so I can definitely see if answers pop up in Piazza. You can also post anonymously. I want people to feel comfortable asking questions if they seem simple. You need a space where you can answer them And if you happen to beat me to the answer, beat the TAs to the answer, that's great too. But a bunch of good questions on Piazza this week, and I feel like people got there. I like to think that people got their questions answered quickly. So feedback's a big part of this course. I'm trying to make this course better. It's never really been done in this asynchronous format, so I need your feedback. And what I did was I actually filmed a short video, or I recorded a short video where I responded to feedback from week 1. It's a little out of sync with when I'm recording these, so I gotta just record a separate video, but there were some things that I just wanted to cover. I thought they were important, so I'll reiterate them. A positive was that someone enjoyed the use of Piazza. Questions were answered quickly. So some wishes, so some things that people expressed that I should think a little more about and maybe change a little bit. People were confused about when the homework is or what the homework is. So that's an example of me, unfortunately, not everything is designed perfectly. So I need that feedback. So if you find errors in the assignments or in the slide decks, please let me know because I want to change those and make those better. Someone asked about a little more information on how to complete the challenges. I realized something is that the first week what I should have done is just say the challenges were extra credit, and I feel like that would have reduced some tension around them. The challenges are something you should be attempting going forward, but the first week they were sort of optional. They're not really optional going forward. So I should have just called the first week extra credit, and I will remember that now. Someone mentioned a bunch of different interfaces noted, and that's why I felt like I needed to be a little more lenient on the first week in particular because there are a lot of things that are being thrown at you in addition to your other classes. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Someone mentioned group work, and I'll reiterate, I'm fine with group work. Maybe use Piazza to organize yourselves. Another thing is you can just show up at the office hours and work together. That would totally be fine. And it's fine to work with someone on working through the coding challenges. You do need to code your own apps, and I very simply there's a very clear indicator if an app has just been copied. It says there's a history of who originally created the app. So make sure you are submitting your own apps. They need to be your own original apps. And I'll leave it at that. Someone asked for a more clear time frame for doing assignments. As clear as I can be. Everything is due every week Sunday night by 11:59. That was I used to not be that clear, but it occurred to me that I just need one time for everything every week. So Sunday nights 11:59. Alrighty. So last week introduced this idea of events. An event is any action that causes something to happen within an app. It's generally going to be user initiated. So things like pressing buttons or flipping your phone around and getting the accelerometer going, those type of things. Anything that the user is doing causes some sort of response. So an example might be button pressing. There are some app-based events. So the app launches, that's a term we call initializing, or maybe your phone gets a message and that causes a response. So there are events that are not user-generated, but an event generally is anything that happens that causes a response. So an event handler, as we described, or as has been mentioned, it's the code that tells the app how to respond or handle the event. I think a simpler way we put it is the event handler is the event plus the response. So in the example there, you can see when the button is clicked, it plays the sound. So the event is the button clicked, and the sound, the response is the sound playing or the sound vibrating, and all that code together is the event handler. It's not something you have to know intimately. It's just a general concept, event-based programming. When something happens, there's some sort of response. And here's another example. When the button is clicked, the text-to-speech is called to speak the text. So we have the event, the response, the event handler. Alrighty. So this week we're getting into a new concept. This concept is known as conditionals. In Thunkable, you'll notice these are the if-else blocks. So sometimes conditionals are simply referred to as if-else statements. They're essentially the same thing. Alrighty. So the definition of a conditional: a statement that only runs under certain conditions or situations. So if this condition is happening, or if this condition is true, you would do one thing. If it's not true, you do another, which sounds maybe oversimplified. Let me show you some examples. So if I was going to complete the following statements using an if statement. So if it is raining is true, then I need an umbrella. If I'm hungry is true, then I should probably eat. If the traffic light is true, then I must stop. Okay, so those are 3 examples of if statements. Let's go on. So these if statements, these conditionals, they allow programs to make decisions. So you can think of it maybe as a code branch. Is totally fair way to look at it. So this example that we just said, if the raining is true, you would do one thing. If raining is false, you would do another. You can also think of it as sort of like this decision tree. If raining is true, then you take an umbrella. If it's false, you would take sunglasses, and you move on to sort of the next command in your control flow, or however you're writing out your code, or block coding. But conditional allows programs to make decisions based on certain conditions being met or not. Okay. Okay. So now the next level. So the if statements is the basic statement, but you can build it out. So you have to build out that decision tree. If one thing is true, you do one thing. If the thing is not true, you can do something else. So if it's a weekday, I need to wake up at 8 a.m. or else I get to sleep in. If my clothes are dirty is true, I need to wash them. But if it's not true, then I don't need to wash anything. If the traffic light is red, I need to stop. But if the traffic light is not red, else I can accelerate and drive through the intersection. Okay, again, conditional being this coding concept that allows you to make decisions based on whether something is true or not. And you're going to see this a lot. And you're going to get to practice it this week. And the way we're going to practice is actually on code.org. So you're going to need to sign up for your homework this week. So I'm doing this a little early this week. So your homework this week is to sign up for code.org. You're going to join a code.org classroom. That link is on Canvas. There's, I think, separate links for section 1 and 2. There's very specific lessons that I want you to do. So there's like 20 lessons that are going to be available to you. I just want you to do 11, 14, and 15. And the lessons should be pretty straightforward, and definitely if you are fine with the Blockly stuff and the Lightbot stuff, these should be pretty straightforward as well. But the navigating specifically to lesson 11 is a little tricky, so do watch the video. So I show you how to do it. It's a little tricky, but that's the hardest part, is just getting to the lesson. After you get to the lesson, they're pretty easy to knock out. And let me know if there's any problems with it. Alrighty, so this week you are going to take everything that you learned in the first 2 weeks about building apps, and you're going to apply it to your own creative app. And the way you're going to do that is, you're going to build an app, and it's going to use obviously events, some of the events that you're familiar with. You're going to build your own. I guess we can watch Mr. Lieberman here. Here's an example of what it would look like.
Hi everybody, in this unit you're going to get the chance to build your very own soundboard app. Now what's a soundboard app? A soundboard app is an app that has a bunch of buttons on the screen, and when you tap on them they'll make a certain sound. Here's an example using Daft Punk.
Make it do it, makes us harder, better, faster, stronger.
And it's going to have a switch on it in case people around you don't want to hear what you're doing, to lower the volume. So here's what it would sound like.
Make it do it, makes us harder.
I'm going to stop him right there because you're not going to need the switch. But you are going to build a basic soundboard app where if you press a button, it'll play a speech or make a sound of some sort. All right, hopefully I didn't mess this up too badly. Okay, so you're going to build a soundboard app, and very specifically, you will not need a volume switch. That was superfluous. Okay, so what will you need to build into the Creative Soundboard app? You need a minimum of 3 buttons. You need 3 images of 3 things you might press to make a sound. You need 3 separate sounds. You'll need 3 labels to label the sound, and the sound should play when you click the button. So a very basic example of this Creative Soundboard app, it's an animal sounds app. So we have a seal. So if you click the seal would make a seal sound. Peacock would make, I don't know what a peacock sounds like. Probably makes an interesting sound. And you have a mosquito, and what are the things there? So we have components that you'll be using that you're probably already familiar with. We have the image and button. We have rows and columns, we have a label, and we have the sound player. So all things that you're familiar with that you did in I Have a Dream, you'll use those concepts to build your own Creative Soundboard app. So this is the way it's going to go. I've got a handout for you, and I want you to spend a little time with it. And that's because I think that it's really valuable, even though we're making kind of a basic app here, the idea of planning out an app in advance. So before you jump into the actual coding, to have like sort of a plan of what you're going to code. So you'll get this project handout. It's on Canvas. It'll make your own copy. You should brainstorm some ideas for your app. I think generally it's very useful to sketch the user interface, but given that this is fully online and it's just the doesn't really facilitate doing that, which is fine if you want to sketch it out on some other paper, but I'm making that optional. You're gonna have to find and sort of modify some media so that you can go into your app. You'll plan out your code, and you'll create a new. The next step would be to create a new project in Thunkable. You'll upload your media. You'll submit the URL from this particular handout for credit, because I do want you to think about it a little bit and go through it. It sort of leads sort of related ideas, the importance of design. So in particular, when you're doing coding, it's very valuable to design it in advance, so you get a chance to, before you're sort of stuck in that mode of like, oh, can I make this work, and making sure that everything looks and works perfectly. If you can take a step back and plan it out a bit, it's going to be really helpful in actually like executing the building of your app. So as I mentioned, it's like very common, especially in app development, that you should sketch out each sort of screen in your app. In this case, you're not going to have to do that, but it's not a bad idea if you want to do it for your own. You're going to find some media. And I want to emphasize, I feel like it's important as a college professor to emphasize, what we really want is media that's like Creative Commons media. And what that means is it's already been approved for like use by anybody. So obviously we've all had moments of like screenshotting something or downloading an image off the internet that wasn't Creative Commons and probably using it. It definitely happens, but I think that it is best for this class and these assignments that we put effort to finding media that is Creative Commons approved. So here are some things you can do that. So if you're ever in Google Images, you can, or if you're looking for images, you can look under Google Images. You can go into the search tools as shown in this GIF and GIF, I don't know, the usage rights, and that will allow you to search specifically for things that are meant for non-commercial reuse. So pictures of animals, for example. Obviously save the picture to your desktop, and I think something that happens is that the name of the file often is kind of funky, so I think like renaming it something really easy, because you're gonna have to retype it at some point in, well, you may or may not have to retype it into Thunkable, but on the assumption that you might, you definitely want a simple thing to retype. So find your images that are labeled for non-commercial reuse. Looking for sounds, so three places you can go: freesound.org, soundvital.com, Free Music Archive, and there's tons of free stuff. And again, I think it's useful to rename your sounds. It's also valuable generally to trim your sound files. So you probably have enough space on I don't know that there's a specific limit on how big you can make your apps in Thunkable, but assuming that there is some sort of limit, I would say think about bringing your sound files down to no more than 10 seconds each. If you're on a Mac, you can open media files really easily and trim them. And there's an online option. It's mp3cut.net, and I added a video for how to use that if you don't have a Mac, or just for whatever reason. It's a good site to know about. Here's a concept where I'm not going to go too deep into it. It's the idea of pseudocode, and that's like another planning tool wherein you write out what you want the program to do in plain language. So instead of like math test style writing out all of the code in like some sort of text-based language, it's like in natural language, just the way you normally speak. If the MLK button is pressed, then the MLK sound file should play, that kind of thing. But it helps in like organizing your thoughts and like executing code, especially when you get to the next levels of code, to like have written out some instructions on what you want to do and what you think should happen. And so related to that, we won't overly use that term pseudocode, but it is a valuable step to plan out your code. So that's sort of a funky example where someone wrote out the code in plain language. So when the start button is clicked, go to the start screen, all the things that should happen. I think it's useful to just generally write out your code. This is a very simple example of what you'll be doing, because it's pretty obvious when a button is pressed, a sound should play, but I do want to get you thinking that way. So next you'll create a new project and upload media. It's pretty straightforward. That's what it would look like. You create a new app, give it a name, and on the app, on the component, I guess they call it an app tree, but on the component side, it's the left side of your screen, you can upload media files. So you'll do that. You'll build your app again. Minimum requirements are 3 buttons, 3 images, 3 sounds, 3 labels, and the sound should play when you click the button. And the last part is we're going to add a sort of an interactive part to our project for this week. So what we're going to do is we're going to host our apps on a just like a basic online bulletin board. It's called Padlet. So the first thing you'll need to do is make an account on Padlet.com. You can just use your Google login or USF login, and then I suggest closing that tab. And in a new tab, there'll be a Padlet for each section. So for section 1, section 2, and so on. You'll make a post with the name of your app, and you'll link to your Creative Soundboard App project page. So I've got it right here. Is the Padlet, and so I want to make a post here. And so the reason why it's important to make an account first is because then when you post, it'll automatically put your name, and when we're grading these, and we got to make sure that everyone does it, it's going to be a lot easier if your name shows up. So that's the important part of making an account before you get started. So if I want a title, I made a Daft Punk app, and I want to go to the project page for my Creative Soundboard app. I want to get the URL up here, and I want to put it in as the link, and then it'll be posted, and then anyone who comes to this Padlet from, I guess, section 2 can just click here, and the idea being next week we're going to get to test each other's apps, even though we may be across the country from each other. We can see what each other is doing. So that's this part 7 is sharing your app on Padlet. That's what we're going to do with our Creative Soundboard apps. There is some homework, and this is specifically focused on practicing with this new concept, conditionals, the if else statements. So what you'll need to do is sign up for code.org. You'll need to join this very specific classroom that I have set up for us, and that is on Canvas. You'll need to go to Canvas to get that link. The lessons that we're trying to get, the only lessons you need to do this week are 11, 14, and 15. Those are the ones that specifically work on conditionals. It's a little tricky to navigate to, so I do suggest watching the video that I have set up. So you'll need to go to Canvas to get, or hopefully you're probably already watching this on Canvas, so you'll need to click through to figure that one out. You don't need to submit anything because I'll be able to see your work in the classroom. So you don't need to submit anything. You do need to finish lessons 11, 14, and 15. There's a weekly survey. This should be updated by the time you see this. I'll update it probably on Sunday for week 3. And a quick review of the tasks. You're going to plan out your Creative Soundboard app. You're going to build it, share the link on Padlet. You'll do the week 3 homework. That is for code.org, week 3 survey. And reminder, all assignments are due Sunday night. And I think for you guys, what is the date today? Okay, so that'll be 28, 29, 30. So it's probably September. I'm guessing, off the top of my head, I'm thinking that's September 6th. So September 6th, 11:59 p.m. And with that, good luck. Email, Piazza, office hours. Take care.